Good morning and welcome to the show. I have a friend of mine, I didn't say old friend, I have a good friend of mine, Pat Savaston, here on the show today. And beside being a woman of distinction, congratulations,
yes,
by the way.
Thank you.
You were also a Girl Scout at one time.
Well, I was. I was a little brownie. I brought my original brownie doll that my father bought for me because I was introverted.
This is
my doll.
Your personal doll.
She still fits into her uniform.
Unlike my old Boy Scout uniform. Heck, my Air Force uniform I can't even fit into.
But I was very introverted, and Dad got me this doll and said, you two can go to a brownie meeting.
Isn't that something?
And that was my beginning into Scouts.
And you've kept it all these years.
That's about the only toy that I kept,
Yeah.
but she was very special to me. I guess it makes her a collectible and not an antique.
Not an antique, with all due respect, it is a collectible.
Yeah.
Well, that's just awesome stuff. And now, you really don't have an active involvement with Scouts, do you?
No, I do not. They called me about the Women of Distinction. And, you know, the point to me with girls nowadays, we live in a very difficult society. And when I was young, we talked about first aid and we talked about babysitting. But now these girls are talked to about confidence and courage and character, all the things that these girls need to know about.
You know, and that's so important, Pat. I mean, we take a good hard look at the popular culture, which is not very respectful of women in a lot of instances.
Correct.
You know, I think these young girls may be getting the wrong messages as to how to be successful. You don't have to be a mean girl to be successful.
Right.
I mean, you can be a smart girl
and
be successful.
Exactly.
You don't have to be a beauty queen to be successful.
Exactly.
You know, you could just be a good person.
Right.
And be female and be successful.
Right.
And I think that's such a valuable lesson.
Well, you know, between Hollywood and peer pressure, these girls don't always have the role models that they need. So when they get into scouting, they can see other people who are like them. And, you know, having served on the school board, I can tell you, too, that the girls really need role models, mentors, if you will, that they can look up to and work with to help them as they come along that treacherous road of the teen years especially.
Boy, and it is a treacherous road.
It is.
We have to run off to the local weather, but
okay.
On the other side of this weather report, let's talk about this Woman of Distinction thing.
Will do.
And also I want to talk a little bit more about scouting, because it is it's a natural place for young ladies to go to build their self-confidence.
Right.
And we'll be right back after your local weather, brought to you by the West Pittman Law Firm, westpittmanlawfirm.com. Welcome back to the show. I'm here with that woman of distinction, Pat Savaston, and her friend, Terry Lee, whose name I just finally remembered after you
finally remembered.
Yeah, reminded me 8 times during the break. This is little Terry Lee, who was your original little friend when you were a Girl Scout back in the day.
My dad bought her for me, and as I was coming in, you know, she your receptionist said, oh, she's an antique. And I went, no, she's a collectible, just like me.
You are a collectible, and you're also a treasure to the community.
Thank you.
Because whenever you see some sort of cause or something going on, your name always pops up. You know, when there's a committee going on to do something good, you know, we always hear about you.
Well,
so thank you very much for that.
You're welcome. But my dad put that into me as well. You know, he told me that everybody has a community. And when that community gives to you, you give back in civic collateral. And so he kind of infused that into me, that it's your duty to give back. And even though I'm not from here, I'm not a local, this is my forever home. I love it here.
And it takes a little extra effort to be a good citizen.
It
just
does.
a little. Not a
does.
lot, just a little. You got to give back a little bit. And it just makes it better for everybody. And the people who recognize this are the Girl Scouts here.
Exactly.
And I've got a program here in my hand. It's a Women of Distinction Awards Gala. Gala? I don't know how you say it. Gala. And you were the Lifetime Achievement Award, Woman of Distinction.
That means I'm not done yet. Please.
It does.
But you know, Don, the scriptures tell us that a good name is better than wealth. And there were 22 women that were nominated who are doing absolutely amazing things in this community. And then there were 7 awards that were given, various awards, but mine was the Lifetime Achievement, and I was so honored and so appreciative of things that I have done, getting some recognition, but that's not what you do it for.
Right.
But it was still nice, and I was very surprised and humbled.
And you're so right. People don't do it for recognition.
You don't.
You don't get involved in your community for recognition. You do it to make it a better place.
Right.
And to make
right.
some sort of contribution.
Exactly.
You know, because it does
Exactly.
take that little extra effort. And I was thumbing through this during the break, and I'm seeing all these familiar faces, all of these ladies of distinction back here. And I don't have time to read them all off, but at some point or other, I think I have just about met almost every one of these people, or heard of them, or seen them in the newspaper of doing something great.
Because they've made a difference.
Yeah.
And that you have to be nominated in order to be a woman of distinction. And when I looked around that room, I was just astounded. I don't know how you would even begin to determine who got what award, because they were all such impactors in this community.
That's got to be a tough decision for the judges.
I know.
It's got to be a really tough one.
It really does.
But I think your selection as Lifetime Achievement was an easy one and an obvious one.
Well, thank you.
At least from where I sit.
Thank you,
Pat
Don.
Savaston, we are so out of time, but thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you
on the
for
show
having me.
and sharing the Girl Scouts Awards of Distinction with us. And, you know, good luck to you with all your
Thank
future
you.
endeavors.
Thank you.
And young men and fathers and moms, get your girls involved in scouting. Give them that confidence they need. And we'll be right back after your Mad Hatter Minute.
Hi, I'm David Lovett, and this is your Mad Hatter Minute. Almost all vehicles on the road today have a power braking system. The power brake system helps provide braking power so you don't have to do all the work with your legs and the brake pedal. The brakes themselves are applied at the wheel using hydraulic pressure. When we step on the brake pedal, we create pressure in the power booster that is multiplied by vacuum from the engine. The resultant pressure pushes brake fluid through the master cylinder into tubes and hoses that run to the brake at each wheel. If there's a problem with the power brake booster, your pedal usually gets extremely hard due to the lack of vacuum coming from the engine. If your pedal gets extremely soft or gets extremely mushy, that's an indication of another problem, usually a hydraulic leak. A leak gives pressurized fluid somewhere to go other than to the brakes, so stopping power is reduced. Lose enough fluid and you can't stop at all. Of course, that can be very dangerous. Brake fluid also attracts moisture, which can lead to rust. Not a good thing for anti-lock brake systems. Also, water into the limes can be heated and create steam. When you create the steam, the hydraulic pressure is reduced and your braking power is reduced as well. If you haven't had your brake fluid changed in a number of years, you might want to consider that. A final word, make sure you use the recommended brake fluid for your vehicle. Using the wrong type of brake fluid can result in total failure of the braking system. I'm David Lovett, and that has been your Mad Hatter Minute.
Hey folks, this is Joshua Brown with Mad Hatter on 23rd Street. Is your check engine light on? If it is, text MADHAT28, that's MADHAT28, to 24247 and we'll check it for free.
Welcome back to the show. In my never-ending search for local talent, we have found Southern Sunday, and we have them right here on the Don Arias show. And thanks so much for coming on the show, guys.
We're really happy to be here.
Yeah, what are you going to sing?
This is another one by a guy that a lot of people don't really know. His name's Trent Tomlinson. It's a ballad. It's called One Wing in the Fire.
One Wing in the Fire.
Yeah, it's a good song.
And you know, the music from guys you don't really know is usually the best.
It's a great
really
song.
is.
I think you'll like it. So.
All right, I'll take it away.
Daddy's been a back row Baptist with a shared front row sin. Saturday night still on his breath. Every Sunday when he walked in, he never led the benediction. He never sang in the choir. But he's an angel with no halo and one wing in the fire. mama lives by the Bible lives by the bed. She lied alone so many nights with scriptures in her head, praying, good Lord, just be with him. I know his faith is tired, but he's an angel with no halo and one wing in the fire. And I know he lives a little left of living right, and he's come close to going way too far a few times. I'd trade 1,000 prayers if just one prayer would come true. Lord, please believe in him like I believe in you. Daddy's always been there for me, from t-ball to touchdowns, and fix my car and fix my heart when they've been broken down. I know he calls for more forgiveness than most folks do require, but he's an angel with no halo and one wing in the fire. And I know he lives a little left of living right, and he's come close to going way too far a few times. I'd trade 1,000 prayers if just one prayer would come true. Lord, please believe in him like I believe in you. Well, I just can't imagine what heaven must be like. It's me and mama making without daddy by our side.
Welcome back to the show. I've got an old friend in the studio today, Sean Allen, who is a retired lieutenant colonel from Tyndall Air Force Base. He and I worked together for many years out there. Is now an area coordinator for the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. And welcome to the show, Sean. Or welcome back to the show. I think you were on once before.
I've been on before, you bet.
Yeah,
I appreciate you having me back.
It's so good to see you, my friend. Now, for people who don't know, what is the Fellowship of Christian Athletes and what do you do? What's your mission?
Fellowship of Christian Athletes, it's a faith-based organization. It's been around since 1954. Branch Rickey, who, we learned a lot about him recently in the Jackie Robinson story, was one of the co-founders, and his idea was if athletes can sell soap and cigarettes and other products, why can't we use them as positive role models for our youth? And so they founded this Christian organization that encouraged athletes and coaches to be positive role models for our youth and for society.
And they're basically spokespeople.
Yeah, they are.
For Christianity in sports.
Exactly. But what we do is we have clubs on middle school, high school, and college campuses, and it really becomes about character development and teaching kids how to, our values are integrity, teamwork, excellence, and service. And so we work with the kids and we teach them, hey, these are core values that you need to live by because this is what's going to help you succeed in life. And we work with the coaches and their teams and try to help these kids get core values that are going to help them succeed 20 years from now.
You know, in today's popular culture, that's almost corny. You know, you get that a lot.
It is.
I mean, especially with all the stuff that's going on in sports with the NFL and guys slapping their wives around in elevators and things like that. I mean,
I read a thing yesterday. It said that we live in an etch-a-sketch society as far as morality goes. People start writing the rules they're going to live by until they don't like them anymore. Then they shake the etch-a-sketch and they come up with a new set of rules. And that's the difference between where we are today and what we're trying to do. We're trying to give kids a solid foundation that they can cling to and they can always go back to, that's going to help them succeed. It's not going to change. It's not going to waver because these things are truths that do not change.
You know, I read something interesting recently in that because of the lack of faith that a lot of people have nowadays, Not that I want to get too preachy on you people, but people look for something to identify with. So a lot of people are identifying with sports teams.
Right.
In the absence of faith in general, they identify with sports teams. I think it's a perfect vehicle.
Yeah, it is. And,
to deliver faith.
Well, go into any town, big or small, and you're always going to have a sports page, but I've yet to see an academic page. So
Isn't that true?
Yeah,
Yeah.
So we hold our athletes up as icons within our society and role models.
So, I guess there are success stories. I mean, that kind of faith, I don't know if it'll get you into the NFL or not, or get you to wherever you're going, sports-wise, but there are second and third order effects in your life in general.
Right.
By being a member of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes.
Absolutely. And we have a great bunch of kids that in our schools in Bay County and surrounding counties. And like I say, it's not just about preaching Jesus, because we tell them, go out and preach the gospel, and when necessary, use words. And so it's what they do, how they behave in the classroom, how they respect their teachers, how they perform on the athletic field.
When necessary, use words.
Yeah,
So you preach that by actions, by example.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Going out, what's a service project you're doing to help somebody else within the community? And so that's what we're striving for. And, it's I really enjoy doing it, because you feel like you're kind of paying something forward, giving back to the community.
And that's so important
growing
nowadays.
the next generation. So.
Sean, we have to run off to a commercial break, but
Okay.
on the other side of that, let's talk about some of the things that you're doing.
Okay.
And maybe some events and activities that you have coming up that
Sounds
people can
good.
get involved with.
All right.
You're Waking Up with Don, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to the show. I'm speaking with Sean Allen. He's an area coordinator for the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. We always have the best interviews during the breaks here, and we were talking about all the good effects that being a member of this fellowship it has on a sports team.
Right.
And what are some of those?
Well, we challenge the players and the coaches physically, mentally, spiritually, and we say, go out and we want you to perform to the best of your ability. Like I said, preach the gospel, and when necessary, use words. But then we tell them, these teams that show up to compete against you, without them, you couldn't have a game. So go out there and compete with intensity, but compete with class. When you knock them down, put out a hand and help them up. Show them good sportsmanship.
And I got to tell you, as a fan, it's so much more appealing, because so much of sports, particularly at the professional level, is mean-spirited. It's all about winning at any cost, and you get away with murder as long as you're a winner.
Right.
And that's not being a sportsman, is it?
No, it's not at all. And we're trying to change that culture with what's a legacy coach and a legacy program. And a legacy program is the program that builds a strong foundation that's not going to help you win this year, but it's going to help your players succeed 20 years from now. And if that's the kind of program you're trying to build, guess what? You will win football games, and you will have success, because the players understand what sacrifice is, dying to self, and serving those around them.
And working hard.
Absolutely.
They just don't. I guess every now and then you come upon that super talented kid who's
Right.
out there who may wind up in the pros someday. But that's like getting struck by lightning. I mean, really, how many kids make it to the pros?
Not many.
You make their football experience something positive.
Right.
Something that's going to last them for a lifetime. And I'm saying football. Perhaps you're involved in other sports as well.
We're involved in multiple sports, but one of the big things that we're involved with is we're into football season right now, so that's where we are. But we're involved with the baseball and the softball and the soccer, and it's open to any athlete, any student. So
Now, if your kid is going off to college or off of college, how do you get involved?
well, you just got to figure out who the area rep is on campus, or who their campus rep is, and they can always contact
And I
us
guess a
and
quick
help
Google
them.
search will kind of direct you in the right way, right?
Yes, it will.
So just
Absolutely.
Google up Fellowship of Christian Athletes and find out if they have a huddle at
on their
your school.
campus. You bet.
Yeah.
So-
And a huddle is basically the club.
It's the club. So an athletic term.
Sure.
So-
Yeah, absolutely. And that huddle meets periodically, don't they?
They
kind of
meet-
reinforce each other. And
Yeah, they meet based on what the campus wants to do, and we don't put any rules on them as far as when to meet. It's what best meets their needs. So,
now, in the minute we have left here, how can people help?
well, they can help out. We got a couple events coming up, and one of them is Fields of Faith is going to be a community-wide prayer
Fields of
event.
Faith.
Right, and that's going to be October 8th, and I got some folks coming by to talk to you about that. But the other one is October 16th. We got Gene Stallings and Coach Jimmy Sharp, former Alabama coaches, and Jimmy Sharp was a player on the first national championship team under Bear Bryant. And they're coming by, and we're going to do a dinner fundraiser, and it's going to be Lessons from the Bear. And they're going to be talking about those character lessons that they learned from Bear Bryant that changed their lives as
Do we
players
need
and
tickets
coaches.
for that, or?
You do, and it'll be a limited seating event out at Gulf Coast. Dinner will be served, casual conversation
Gulf
with the
Coast State
coaches.
College.
Yep. And
Okay, and how do we get a ticket?
more information, you can either call 763-8030 or you can contact me at 348-0654.
Sean Allen and the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, keep up the good work, and thanks so much for everything you do.
Appreciate it, Don.
All right.
Thank you very much.
And we'll see you next time.